It's Karen Combs, and we have a special floss tube today. So it's not a normal one where I'm going to show whips and what I'm working on. That's a whip. Things like that, things I purchased, things I want to work on. Not doing that. Today is a special one. We're going to look at the Carter House Sampler, 1817, and this is by Cross Stitch Antiques. And I know we've looked at it before, but this time we're going to actually go on a field trip. So I'm going to give you some background about this sampler, and then I'm going to put in the video that I took earlier this week. So the sampler, let me give you the little backstory on how I started working on it. My friend Cheryl came to visit in April, and we went to the Carter House to tour it, which is in Franklin, Tennessee, which is about 25 miles, 20 miles, and depending on traffic, could be 45 minutes from here or 20. But anyway, it's close, and we went to visit. Wonderful place to visit, and we saw a sampler. And in the description, I'm going to put some links, and one of the link, we couldn't film inside or take pictures, but I did find a video someone else did about the Carter House. And in the description, I'll put a link that you can click on and go to about 4 minutes right in there. And there's just a brief shot of the sampler in their, what they call family room / master bedroom. But you can see it because I could not get a picture of it inside. But we saw the sampler, and then we went and we toured the home, and then we went to the gift shop, and they had the charts. So you can order the chart from the gift shop. You can also order it directly from Cross Stitch Antiques from Kathleen Littleton. I'm going to put that up there. I think 123 Stitch also has it. But proceeds from the sale of this chart and kit benefit the Battle of Franklin Trust. So the gift shop has the chart. It also has a kit. And I was just there. This is Thursday the 20th. Maybe it's the 21st. I should have looked that up. Actually, and it's Friday. Anyway, I was there on Wednesday just a couple days ago, and they had plenty of charts and kits. So I did pick up the kit. And then, as it would happen, a month later, I was at the Homespun Gathering in Clarksville, and Kathleen was there. And I'm going to show you a picture of, two pictures. One is of, I have so many things to show you here. This is a picture of the sampler. This is from the Tennessee Samplers survey. And you can see it's very difficult and to see, and I will put all the links to these web pages in the description. You can see it's very dark. Sorry for the reflection. I tried to do this without the box light, and the lighting was terrible. But you can see it's very dark, and it was dark when we saw it inside. But when I saw it with Kathleen, I want to show you a picture because it took my breath away. And it's a good size one too. Let me pop this up so you can see it. It is just such a pretty sampler, and as I've mentioned before, very wonky. I mean, it's got borders going everywhere. It's got an alphabet, then a border below, and then some big alphabet, and it's like, let's add another border. And then there's this little house down on the bottom. And I will put a picture of this in the opening that you can pause and take a look at it. But the colors of it in the reproduction were so unusual. And here it is, uses 8 different flosses, but look at the colors. Very contemporary. I love the teal, I love the gold. Look at that. And it's this teal It's kind of a sage green, actually. Let me see if I can hold them up a little better. That sage green, really gorgeous. Now this is the 28 count Meadow Rue that the kit came with. And I decided, because of the reproduction that Kathleen had, look how light that is, I decided to increase the count size and lighten the linen. So I am using, let me check my notes, a 36 count parchment by Weeks. So here it is. Let me get it set here. So this is what I have done so far. And I did make a working copy because I'll be stitching along and then I'll notice there's just something a little wonky about something, and that's the way it's charted. So I did highlight on my working copy when there was one of those little wonky things. So you can see I worked all the way down here to the bottom because I wanted to make sure that I had enough linen. So there it is. And seeing the reproduction is what made me want to start it, because I just love those colors. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Polly. And actually her name is Mary Armistead Atkinson. Before she was married, family members called her Polly, and she was born in 1806, and she was born in Halifax County, Virginia. Her family moved to the frontier in Tennessee when she was just a few years old, and she was raised in a log cabin in rural Williamson County. That's the cabin we're going to visit. And I am going to show you a picture of it. And the actual farmhouse that's been built on the property, and it includes this cabin, is for sale, but I am not going to put any information about that just for privacy purposes, but I do want to show you some pictures. So here is the cabin, which I'll show you the video. Here is the view from the front porch. So you can just imagine, hold on, let me get that out of the way for the reflection. You can just imagine Mary, or Polly, sitting there stitching, looking out on the hills. Here's a picture from inside the cabin. You'll be able to see some of the original stonework, rough-hewn logs. Of course, it's been modernized. As you can see, the cable hanging down. I think that's it, yes, for that home. But she was raised in this cabin, and it's near the Natchez Trace. And for any of you that like history, the Natchez Trace was the road. Lewis and Clark actually used that road to go out west, and Meriwether Lewis is buried along that road. There is a monument to him. A little controversy about what happened with him, but he is buried along the Natchez Trace. It goes from Nashville all the way to Natchez, Mississippi. You can drive it today. It's, of course, been modernized, but along the Natchez Trace, there are no gas stations, hotels, billboards, any of that. It's just through the countryside. Now, you may end up going on the trace where it does go through a town. It might. It's been a while since I've driven quite a bit of it, but there's a lot of stops along the way. There's also the old road they've maintained in certain spots where you can get off and actually drive along the old road. So any of you that like history, look up Natchez Trace. There is a website. I'll put that link in there too, so you can look it up. But Mary's home, that cabin, was not far from the Natchez Trace, and it's near Leaper's Fork, just outside Franklin. That's kind of the area. And she stitched this sampler when she was 11. Now, little did she realize that as a little girl sitting on that front porch or sitting in that cabin, that her sampler would be viewed by visitors from around the world. And why is that? Well, because when she was 17, she married 26-year-old Fountain Branch Carter. And they built a beautiful log home, which we're going to visit that. I'm sorry, not log home, brick home, right there in Franklin, just maybe a mile from the courthouse square. Might only be a few blocks, actually. They built this beautiful brick home in 1830, and active household, working farm. They had 12 children, 8 of them reached maturity. They did have a tragedy with their 4-year-old Samuel, who fell from the stairway, and that was rough for Mary, but she had a strong religious faith that got her through that. She died in 1852 at the age of 46. Now, what happened 12 years later is her family was caught in the middle of one of the most horrendous battles of the Civil War, the Battle of Franklin. And Mary's son, Captain Todd, I think I said Tad in the video you'll see, but Todd Carter, it was the first time he was home. He wasn't really home, but in the area in 3 years, and he was caught up in this Battle of Franklin with the 20th Tennessee Infantry. He was mortally wounded just a few steps away from his home. They found him the morning after the battle and brought him into the home, and he died several days later. The house and the farm suffered huge damage, but it was kept in the family for quite a few years, and then it was turned into a historic site. If you would like more information on this, in the description, I will put some in-depth links. There is an archaeological study that the state of Tennessee has done, and I've been reading that. It's fascinating. I'll put that in there. I'll also put a couple of links to videos about the battle. But now that home is open to the public, and Mary or Polly's sampler is there for people to see. It's right over the fireplace. So I am going to show you, let me see what else. Got several things. We're going to visit her log cabin. We are going to visit the Carter house, and then we're going to visit the cemetery where she's buried. I did not take a picture, or I did not find her stone. Parking was kind of difficult right there. I had to park just off the street, so I just walked into the cemetery, took a picture on video, and came out. But here is a picture of the grave, the headstone, and it does say, I think it says wife of, I just had it here, I'll put a link to that. Just says wife of F.B. Fountain Branch Carter. It's kind of small, but I'll put the link to that too. And I'm sorry, I'm getting some reflection. But I'll put the links so you can click on those. So I have shown you, I just want to make sure, because now what we're going to do is go into a series of 3 videos. The first will be the log home. The second will be the Carter house. And I'll actually walk up the streets. It's along a busy street now, but they have, over the years, been able to purchase now, I think it's 25 acres in the battlefield area and around the Carter house. So right at the house, it's a little more quiet, but it is right on the street. And then we'll visit the city cemetery where Mary is buried, which is less than a mile from her home. So I hope you've enjoyed that little bit of history, and let's go on our field trip. So on this little country road, it isn't very far from a neighborhood. I'm gonna panel around slowly because here we have the cabin of Mary, or if she was known to her family, Polly Atkinson, who became Mary Carter. Here it is. I'm gonna respect the fence. There's a little parking area, but we won't go any further. So here it is. There's the front porch. And this is the view. And there's a little bit of color, not much. I'm gonna go back so we can look at it because I can envision Mary sitting on the front porch stitching her sampler. So here it is. So we're going to now go to the Carter house, which is maybe 5 miles away, but here it is. Just gonna give you a few seconds of the road that led to the Atkinson cabin. Now it looks like I'm in the middle of the woods, and right here I am. But the main road is just to my right.
At the next stop sign, turn right.
And thank you for the directions to the Carter house, which is about 5 miles from here. So I'm going to give you just another minute of this, and then we'll go to the Carter house next. All right, I'm going to sign off now because I need both hands on the steering. I've just left the parking area. That's the visitor center over there. This is the side of the Carter house. You can see they've constructed fencing all around it. And have saved the battlefield area. When I first moved here 30 years ago, that was a huge shopping center with a grocery store. Not sure what they're going to do with it. Maybe keep it as a historical area, maybe develop it, I have no idea. But there used to be a building on this part of the battlefield, and it's gone now. So when you tour the house, you get a little better feel of what it was like when the battle happened. You can see we've got the main road right up here. And I'm going to stop now and get to the front of the house. Sorry for the road noise, but this is a major road. And back when the Civil War happened, it was Columbia Pike. It still is. Look at the size of these trees. Now these steps lead to what was Franklin High School, which was now torn down. But before then, it was part of the battlefield. But we're interested in the house that Mary lived in with her husband, and we're coming up to it. There is a fence, but we'll be able to see the house. And if you can get here for a tour, it is wonderful. I'm going to come up here. Here is the house. They've constructed a pretty high fence that wasn't here before. gonna put my selfie stick up. So here it is. It was built in 1830. We know that Mary was born in 1806, I believe. It was built by her husband, Fountain Branch Carter, and 3 generations of his family lived here. During the Civil War, it was the command post of Major General Jacob Cox, and he was the federal field commander of Schofield's army. The hottest fighting took place just east and south of here, but it was all around the house, and this is where Captain Theodore Carter, or Tad as his family knew him. He was mortally wounded, and they found him the morning after the battle. Let's go up a little further. It's a unique house for the 1830s. It's 3 stories. We're looking at the main story. There was an attic space and then a basement. And the basement they used as the kitchen, or actually the dining room, because the kitchen was a separate building. Now we'll come over here and get a look at, that's the farm field office. And here you can see a little more of the building. And if you look, let's see, you can see that window, and then there's a fireplace. Right above the fireplace is where the sampler is hanging today. So that's the farm field office. There is also a smokehouse. You can still to this day see all the bullets from the fighting. Let me see if we can go down it. They have renovated some of the battlefield area. When we moved here, this was all houses, and now they've reclaimed it as a historical site, which is nice to see. So you can, let me go down just a little further. So that brick building was the smokehouse, and I'm gonna try to zoom up, see if it's just riddled. Both those buildings are riddled with bullet holes. Try to avoid the people. But this was all part of the Carter farm, and the Federal Army did entrench here, and the Southern Army came right up Columbia Pike. And from the window next to where the sampler is, this is the view. Over on this side of the road, there was a cotton gin mill, or cotton gin, and there was a lot of fighting there too. You can see there were commercial buildings there when we first moved here. Now they've reclaimed it as part of the battlefield. So that is, let me come back here. That is the Carter house. Oh, I can see the outdoor kitchen here. Let me go up here and show you. See the red roof of that little building? That was the outdoor kitchen. So Fountain Branch and Mary lived here, and she died, I'm going to look it up. By the time you watch this video, I'll have told you, but it was well before the Civil War battle. But this is her home, and this is where the sampler is today. All right, let's now go, and I'm going to see if I can find her grave. This is the city cemetery. I don't know where Mary is buried. It's a 2-acre, let's see if I can get on the other side, 2-acre cemetery. There's Revolutionary soldiers buried here. Leave that up for a minute. 4 Revolutionary soldiers. We'll just take a look real quick in here. First burying ground of Franklin and churchyard of the First Presbyterian Church. These gates were erected August 1916 in honor of the pioneer men and women buried here. So I do have a picture of the headstone. I'll just kind of scan here. I'm guessing it's somewhere in the front here. But there's not a lot of parking, so I'm kind of parked at the edge of the street, so I don't think we're going to try to find her grave. I think I'll just give you a picture here of the cemetery, knowing that Mary is buried here. We visited where, not where she was born, but where she grew up, and then where she lived with her husband and her children. And this is her final resting place. Hope you have enjoyed this little tour. I hope you enjoyed our little tour. I wanted to thank Rachel V., who I met at the Homespun Gathering. She found the log cabin and shared the location with me. And thank you for that, Rachel. She lives up in that area. And when I drove up and saw it, it was wonderful. So thank you for that. And I'm going to show the sampler one more time with the chart. So here it is. And here is the chart. You can see there's a picture of Mary, her son Todd. There's the reproduction in the middle, there's the original, and there's the Carter house. Thank you for joining me, everyone, and I'll be back in a few weeks with our regularly scheduled FlossTube. Until then, happy stitching.